So, yeah, technical difficulties suck. I have spent all day trying to get the video that I made for you all yesterday uploaded, and it would not go, and it would not go, and it would not go, and I think it's because it's an hour long. So, we're going to try a little bit shorter. So, this week's story is Happy Lights by Ladyshadowdrake. And there is art, if you want to go find it. Obviously, I'll put the link in for the story. So, this is tentacle porn. Just so you know, up front, there is tentacle porn. Lots of tentacle porn. There's lots of sex in lots of versions. So, tentacle porn is including little bondage, little spanking, just once, but it's still there. Little bit of everything. Just so you know, I keep forgetting to tell people tags and things before stories so they can avoid them if they don't want to read it. Here it is. I remembered. So, what we've got this week, like I said, is Happy Lights, and one of the first bits of dialogue is one of my favorite out of any Marvel, anything, movie, comic, fan fiction, or whatever. And the line is, there's no easy way to say this, tentacles in Central Park. And Steve has to say it, and it's amazing. My other favorite line is shit language from Age of Ultron. Second least favorite Marvel movie, only to be overshadowed by Civil War. My absolute least favorite Marvel movie, and it just makes me cry. I can't even watch it again. I saw it in the theater. I will never watch it again. I just want to cry. Ladyshadowdrake has a wonderful ability to put images straight into your head. And I don't normally get a full-on picture when I'm reading a story. Might be a flash here or there, but not an actual, full movie scene. But I get them with hers. And one of the best lines she wrote is Coulson and Steve. And they're walking around the jet to go look at the ball of tentacles in Central Park that you will eventually find out is called Colony. And it reads like this. Coulson fell in step beside him, his long wool coat catching a breeze and fluttering over to brush Steve's calves as they walked around the jet. Full-on picture for this. 3 seconds of them walking around the jet in Coulson's coat, fluttering along next to Steve. Amazing imagery. So, they're in the park. They're trying to figure out how to get the ball of tentacles someplace safe away from civilians and other master criminal minds who might decide to do something nasty with them. They're trying to get them into a container, and just before it goes in, somebody decides they're going to shoot the ball of tentacles. One of the junior agents that's out on a field trip to see a mostly mellow, no frills really needed capture turns into a really good thing. However, in those 5 seconds, everything's going down. It's so not cool. I'm about to be invaded by a small brown chihuahua. Anyways, so the ball gets shot, and it gets pissed. And it goes after who's shooting them. This young, small agent. Come on. Told you I was going to be invaded by a brown chihuahua. See? Look. This is Silverado. He used to be gray colored. Now he's brown colored. So his name doesn't fit. Sit. So anyways, the ball is going for the agents. One of the senior agents with them, I can't play right now, starts doing cover fire, and the ball decides they're going to attack him instead. And her line for that is equally descriptive, and I appreciate it greatly because I'm Norse pagan and she talks about Valkyries. So, her companion, still providing covering fire, was right in the path of the alien. He stood firmly, expression set in the resignation of someone who could see death coming for him, could hear the Valkyrie singing his name. Again, a full-on scene in my head. I don't get those very often. Just once in a while. The thumping is him wagging his tail. Sorry, guys. So, Steve does his thing, ends up captured and in the middle of Colony, which is an amazing thing. This works out in so many ways because Colony communicates telepathically. They're all one entity. They're individual limbs of tentacles, but they're all one entity. They're all connected. Horrible analogy. Steve doesn't want to make it. I don't either because it's bad, but Borg. They all know each other. They all know what's going on. What one feels, the other feels. What one knows, the other knows. So, they get Steve. They're hurt. They're trying to understand what's going on. And in the meantime, they're kind of hurting Steve. And he's like, hey, bad flash, because that's what they use as a word, as pain. And they realize they can hear him and understand what's going on. And so they start communicating with him. And eventually they get back to S.H.I.E.L.D. in the container. Everybody's fairly safe. Although Colony is shiny compliant. Anything bright and shiny and new and tech they want. Like Tony in the Iron Man outfit. Yeah. So they get back to S.H.I.E.L.D. and talk to Steve a little bit about where they're from. And he figures out that eventually they call it logic, we call it math. Well, we all know Tony and math/logic. He's got to know it. So Tony ends up in Colony. Works out. But Colony also, because, hey, it's tentacle porn. Each time somebody joins Colony explores. It's got to figure out these new limbs. And the sex is cute. Okay, cute's not the right word. It's hot. And steamy. And tentacly. So, we've got Steve trying to not let the entire team know what's going on when he gets investigated and examined by Colony. And then there's Tony, who's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go with this, because it's sex and it's Tony. And then it includes Steve. And then later, it includes Bruce. Bruce is like, yeah, no, I don't need that. That's okay. And Clint and Thor are like, Colony's very friendly. We like Colony. It takes them a month, give or take, to figure out Colony's math and get the device built to get Colony home. And in the meantime, they've had conversations and more sex. And Colony starts to figure out individuals, starts to understand them. But they all kind of get lumped into Steve Colony, just because that's what they understand. So, the end of the first one, Just Happy Lights, everybody's really sad, except for Fury, to see Colony go, because everybody's gotten attached to it. They come back and visit, and it's a really good thing they come back and visit, because they bring bad news. So in Strange Turns, which is the second story of the Happy Lights series, we start with the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and finding out about Bucky and fighting Bucky and everything else. They're trying to put S.H.I.E.L.D. back together in some form, and they're trying to capture Bucky and keep all the bad guys of the week mellow. We eventually get Bucky back, but he's damaged. Just like Hydra left him, he's still a mess. And everybody knows that the connection they have with Colony can help him. And they've found out that Colony's telepathy is sexually transmitted. So if you sleep with one of the Avengers, you get telepathy. So Natasha and Phil both have telepathy now, because Clint is a very, very brave man. Very brave man. He slept with both of them at the same time. Brave man. So we've got all the Avengers except for Sam Wilson, Falcon, who doesn't want to have the freaky love nest. No, freaky group love. He doesn't want the freaky group love. So he's out, and they've all started wearing comms out now because they've got Sam. And they finally get Bucky. And from now on, anytime anybody writes a fiction where you're trying to capture the Winter Soldier, could you just, your first skirmish with him, just before you even do anything, just try and say an order for the Winter Soldier to follow in a tone that he might accept as a commander, master type person. That might be something to try in all the fics from now on. Because seriously, running around for a year and a half trying to catch him, when all you had to do is go a little dominant on him. So much wasted ammo, so many broken bones, so many bruises. Could have all been avoided. And Bucky would have been home sooner. So they finally get Bucky, and they gotta keep him safe. They use him a couple times on missions where they know they're not gonna run into Hydra, and it's safe to take him. But then Hydra attacks the new S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, and Steve and Bucky stay back. And Colony shows up. And yeah, bad news, like I said. Chitauri are coming! Groovy. We love these assholes, right? So, we have a month of warning to save the world again. And world leaders are stupid asshole pricks. Doesn't matter what kind of world leader they are, military, politician, doesn't matter, they're asshole pricks. Because they say things like, acceptable human loss. No loss is acceptable. Sometimes we have to accept it, but it's really not acceptable. So, yeah. Dumb. I want this to eventually be a trope that only works in period pieces. I really do. This is something I want for the human race to get past thinking it's okay for civilians to die in battle. It's not. It's never been okay. But whatever. So, Colony's here, letting us know Chitauri are coming. And we kick Chitauri ass again. Takes 9 hours. And there are casualties, yes. But we kick ass again. Colony hangs around for a little while longer. Big colony. Because the colony that showed up in Central Park, about this big. Colony that comes back and warns is about that big. Colony that comes and helps covers the whole planet, more or less. So, Colony is huge. Colony takes up its own planet in a galaxy far, far away. And when Colony comes back and warns about the Chitauri, they also let the Avengers know that Loki is there. And Loki hasn't been in his right mind for quite some time. He's also been a prisoner of war since he fell from the bridge. Yeah, he's not sane anymore. Which sucks because the next story I'm reading is completely Loki and Steve and yeah. He's not sane there either. So we've got Chitauri coming, and invasions, and sex, and more sex, and more sex, and more dogs. Sit. Sit. Thank you. So, dumb dogs. We've got Bucky, and Falling from Oaks, which is the third installment in the series, is everything from Bucky's capture to his coming back through the help of Colony. It's from his point of view. The rest of the story is all from Steve's. And a little bit Tony's, but mostly Steve. But Falling from Oaks is all from Bucky's. And I think it makes a little more sense if when you get to to where they bring Bucky home, if you read Falling from Oaks so that you understand what's going on in his head before you read everything else in Strange Turns. Because it's more... Scary isn't the right word, but it's more stressful for me to not know why Bucky's reacting the way he is to certain things. So it would be better, I think, to read Falling from Oaks when you get to his capture and then finish Strange Turns. Personal opinion. It's not the way she wrote it. Read it however it works for you. I think it just works better for me because it's not so stressy. So, little Colony that came back to warn hangs around for a little while longer after Big Colony goes home. And Tony figures out an amazing way to... Because Colony is hidden from the world. All of Colony is hidden from the world until just before the Chitauri show up. And it's because they bend light. It's happy lights. They like lights. When they're happy, they glow gold, kind of white. When they're hurt, it's red and icky yellow. And Curiosity's kind of blue-green. Also, Blonde Moment from Hell. Colony photosynthesize. Needs UV light to do that. Steve has Coulson bring down lights, UV lights, to the garage where Colony is the first time, when they first show up. And he asks Colony how the lights taste. And they tell him it tastes purple. And it took me probably 6 read-throughs to figure out taste purple makes sense because UV lights are, hey dumbass, ultraviolet. Yeah. blonde moment. This might not be blonde, but this is. So, complete dummy moment. So we get Tony telling Colony that he's almost got logic figured out at the end of Strange Turns and that they're going to come visit Homeworld. Colony doesn't quite understand visit, doesn't quite understand how long it might be. And Colony is the worried grandma. You don't call. You don't write. This is bad. So Grandma comes to visit. Pissed. Well, not pissed, but disappointed. Because Steve Colony hasn't grown. And Steve Colony has been damaged since they left. Tony's got a screwed up leg. Natasha... What did Tasha have? I don't remember what Tasha had. I think she had a bad arm or something. I don't remember now. But Clint, in his daringness, ends up with a punctured lung and cracked ribs and bone splinters, and yeah. Colony is not happy that Steve Colony cannot keep itself warm and safe. Bonehead, don't hit your head on the table. So, they're worried. Colony's worried. But it's Christmas time. And so, Steve Colony shows Colony Christmas lights and Christmas trees. And we get to talk about moms, Tony's. And Colony finds out that all of the Avengers, except for Thor and Loki, all their parents are gone. So they're all orphans. So Colony tries to understand the whole orphany thing. They understand death. They've lost limbs, accidents happen, and I mean, they just went through a war. So they do understand death, but not having the memories or the experiences of the lost member it's kind of weird to them. They don't understand individuals so much. Steve really has to explain it to them when they first show up, and he ends up claiming everybody just so that Colony won't snatch anybody up, so that they'll leave everybody alone. Especially like Pepper and Rhodey, Happy, and Sam. None of them want to be part of Steve Colony. They don't want to be part of Colony. So he tells them no, they're individuals. And it takes a long time for Colony to get. And they don't wanna. They don't wanna. Everybody's supposed to be connected. They're all supposed to be safe and warm and connections. So that takes a bit for them to understand. And they do eventually get it. But Happy Lights, it is tentacle porn, so do remember that. But it's good stuff. There's nothing crazy about it. I'm being attacked by a dog again. I show him an ounce of affection and he just keeps coming back. So, I don't know. Go read the thing. And if I figure out how to load the hour-long version of this, I will. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I think my Mac glitched and it's just... I can watch it on my Mac, but I can't upload it anywhere. I don't know what I've done wrong. So if you know and you're watching this, send me a message on Yasmina's Armada of Ships through Tumblr or leave me a comment here and I will load it. And you'll get the full version of my insanity, including the child of the corn who's passed out in her room because she's can't figure out how to sleep during the day or night and go to bed at an actual real time. So, this is Happy Lights, Ladyshadowdrake. I appreciate the opportunity of doing this. Next week we have My Two Brown Eyes to be redeemed. It is the most epically long story ever. It's 219 chapters and 1,000,000+ words. I think she's on the downhill slide to 2 million words. And like I said earlier, it is Stephen Loki, and it's amazing. I have to find a new word. Amazing just gets used too much. But it is. She does a really good job of bringing in Marvel movies, comics, and Norse mythology, and making it into a believable world. So I will see you all next week with To Be Redeemed.